All right, everybody, we got a banger for you today. I got the king of Camden County on the pod, Pat Gorman. I'm super excited. I've been trying to get him on for a bit, so I know that you guys are going to really like it. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Renovo Financial. So if you want a hard money loan, you got to hit up Jeremy. All the guys that I know in the area that are really making big boy dollars, that are doing big volume, guess who they're using? They're using Jeremy. And when it's time to refi out, if you want to keep this sucker as a rental, the DSCR loans, no one's going to make it easier for you than Jeremy over at Renovo. I promise you that. So let's get it cracking. Hit up Jeremy, and let's get into the pod, boys. I know you're going to love it. Let's go. Pat, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Dude, I'm excited too. For those of you that don't know Pat is the king of Camden County, and we got him to come across the bridge. Let's go.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. I love your suit.
Thank you. So you were inspired the Sergio in a big way. I figured I forgot my Renovo hat, but I'm almost there. I'm like 75% here.
You 75%. You know what? I forgot my Renovo hat, but we got the Renovo mug. Shout out Renovo. Thank you, Jeremy, my guy. There we go.
He does wonders.
There we go. Pat, thank you for coming on. So tell me, how did you get into all this? How did you get into real estate? Like, tell me your story, bro.
So I was always attracted to real estate, and I had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. And I'm dating myself a little bit, but I had the Carlton book, and there were like little programs for teaching you how to flip houses. And I actually started flipping houses in Camden. I bought my first house when I was 20. It was 2001.
Oh wow!
And through the process, I figured I wanted to get my real estate license to better represent myself and get a finger on the pulse. And so that's what I did. I ended up getting my real estate license. I actually sold mortgages for a little bit while I was in real estate school. And then I got my real estate license. I ended up going and working for a friend of mine's dad's company who was located in Camden. When I first came on, though, we went from Camden. We're on 34th Street for a while, about a year, and then we moved to Pennsauken from there. But I did that all the way through college. I was selling real estate and flipping houses. I was going to Rutgers Camden. And that's what I did. I sold houses, I flipped houses, and once I graduated, it was time to get, like a real job, job. And so I moved to Ohio, and I sold packaging for about a good 3 years, and it was okay. It was a very nice experience. I got to learn from some very high level people. But it was a weird time with the internet, so these guys were middlemen on everything. They were brokers, so they would broker all. Okay. They didn't make anything, right? So we would have all these strategic alliances with all these different manufacturers, and Columbus, Ohio is the distribution capital of the world. And a good friend of mine, his uncle was the vice president of the Midwest. So we took advantage of the nepotism. We moved to Columbus, Ohio, and it was nice. We got really, we were able to get really nice houses and nice cars, and we were going out to crazy nice restaurants every night. And we were balling, and it was fun. But my wife was miserable. I wasn't necessarily thrilled with living in Ohio. Nothing against Ohio, but they have the Great Lakes, right? And so we don't get the rain in Columbus, but it's cloudy and it's so flat out there. And it's cloudy for months and months and months. So it's it's nothing but gray all around you.
Okay.
And it literally like
Southwest Philly.
Dude, it engulfs your soul. It was depressing. People wear like Eskimo hats. And so we wanted to move back. I moved back. I was able to actually keep my business. And that got taken away from me at a certain point in life.
Okay.
And then, in between that, I was lazy. I was doing okay. I was making a decent salary. I had a nice residual income, and when I moved back, it was right after the real estate market had crashed and collapsed. So I tried to jump back into property management, and I tried to jump into a couple of clients that I actually service now. But This was a very different time. I mean, we were selling houses cash, bags of cash, bags of cash to the table.
Like really wild
Wild West real estate. And it was tough, man. It was hard. And so I was like, you know what, let me try this, let me try that. And back in those days, you know, having a degree and having a couple of years, you were competing for jobs with people who were, you know, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, you know, people who have been in the game in that industry for 20, 30 years, competing for the same salary. I mean, trying to get a job was a full-time job. And I had a ton of failure, man. I had a ton of failure. I've done it all. I've sold cars, you know, I did the merchant services, you know, I did a lot. And I had about, not failure, but I wasn't getting the success that I wanted. So finally, eventually, probably about 2015-ish, I put together a budget for real estate, and my kids were about 4 or 5 years old. And at that time, I was you know, going to work. Before they woke up, I would get home from work, they'd be sleeping. So I was like, look, if I'm going to do this, like, I need to be making real money. This is crazy. So
100%, if you're going to take all that risk, you're going to be out on the street, it needs to be worth it.
Absolutely. It has to be worth it. If I'm going to take time away from my family, and it was very important to me that my wife be home with them. Like, my kids weren't with anybody that wasn't family up until they could talk, right? Until they could talk and they had some logic and I could believe them over that adult. That's when we put them, you know, into circulation, basically. Well, it's really like preschool. But it was very, very important to me. So we put a little bit of a budget together. I actually, you know, I started doing Zillow. I started doing Zillow heavy, actually in Pennsauken, and we were able to turn it around. It took about 90 days to 6 months to really kind of start churning, and that was very, very buyer heavy, extremely buyer heavy. The problem with buyers is they are very time consuming. So,
and by buyer heavy, I don't mean to cut you. You mean like you were working as a buyer's agent?
Buyer's agent.
Okay,
buyer's agent. So I was a solo agent working with buyers, running them all over the place. And when you're working with 6 to 10 buyers, you're not home for dinner.
No way.
You're not home on the weekend. You haven't seen a football game. You're not going to the movies. You're not doing anything. And then once you start getting deals in process, it's difficult to take off during the week because that's when everyone's working, right? Title companies are working. The mortgage companies, everybody's on full steam, you know, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And when you have to work Saturday and Sunday, it's tough. You get caught in this rut where you can't take a day off. And, you know,
it's tough to live like that. It's tough to live like that. It's tough to have a relationship with your family like that. And it is tough to plan anything with them also.
I can relate. It's extremely difficult. And it's depressing. You know, what am I even doing this for? You know, and you try to keep your eye on the prize that you're doing this for your family and you're doing this for a better life for them. And then I ended up getting kind of lucky. I ended up hooking up with a couple of guys that were young and they were doing big things. They had aggressive plans.
Okay.
And we kind of all grew together. And then one of them actually put a plan together we were trying to get something accomplished with the city of Camden. And so we put, you know, there's only so many people in the city of Camden that have, you know, 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000 homes. And there's only a couple of them, and everybody pretty much knows each other.
Yeah, of course.
So we got a couple of people together, about 8 to 10 people. Everybody put up X amount of money, and we were trying to accomplish a goal. And that goal wasn't accomplished. However, I was the only realtor in that group. So, and all of them didn't know me at the time. They were using this agent or that agent or whatever. And then through that networking, we have like a little, you know, landlord support group and so I would be, you know, right on the battlefield for everything that's going on. And as people were repositioning their portfolio or coming up with different ideas, and then COVID hit, right? And it was crazy. So now no one's getting paid rent. Everybody's hurting. And then I came in and we started moving tenants out with cash for keys.
Yeah.
And that spread like wildfire. Like, yo, this guy is like the tenant whisperer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I'll kick the doors in.
Well, he'll make it happen. And it's nice. Like, I couldn't do it on my houses, I don't think, but I don't have any emotional toll in it, right? I could come in as an unbiased party. I could make an agreement with them and we would get them out and it was super beneficial to them because landlords were in a very, very tough place during COVID. And then my name just spread like wildfire within the
landlord community.
Right, within the landlord community. And even a lot of them were like, Pat, I'm done with New Jersey. I want to be in PA. I want to be in Florida. I want to be in Ohio. I want to be in Texas. I want to sell my whole portfolio.
Yeah.
So we would come up with plans that would optimize that, that whole procedure, that process, and we were killing it. So I have guys that had hundreds of houses that we liquidated over a long period of time, and it was wonderful for us.
Yeah,
it was great. So we've been consistently selling, about 150 houses a year since about 2020, and last year I did about.
So many.
Dude, it's a lot. You got to be very efficient, right? Efficient with low price point, high volume. You got to be efficient. Boom, 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 and really once we really got the admin piece locked in and the support locked in, it really allowed us to really skyrocket. Which was beautiful, man. But this year alone, we just hit 76. I sold my 76th house yesterday.
For this year,
2025.
Stop.
Yeah, man. So last.
Oh my gosh, man!
Crushing it.
You're slinging it.
I'm losing my mind a little bit. Of
course you are.
A little bit, but we're okay. We need to add some infrastructure, and we're adding it. So we're going through a little bit of growing pains, but
that's how it goes, man. That's how I can relate to that very much so.
And you need it, right? It's out of necessity. So we implement the people as we go and we grow, and I'm super excited for a great 2025. And last year we actually lost all of our foreclosure business. And we weathered a nasty storm. And we were...
Did you?
We did. I lost like 40% of my business. But, I went right back to the streets. We hit the streets. We hit the phones. We were able to, replace all of that business plus some. So we grew 50%. We did 20 million in 23. We did 32 million last year. So we grew by more than 50%. We got the...
After losing 40%
yes, we lost 40% and grew 50%, right? So we lost 40%.
Wow.
And we're
you grew like 90, basically.
Basically, yeah, almost
That's
double.
Crazy.
Almost double, and in a different field, and it was a little bit different, but it was same game, same rules, and now we got the foreclosure work back, so which is super exciting because all last year I didn't have my most important thing, which is the ability to give deals to my investors, right? Like. So I come across some, and of course, if I come across a deal, I'm going to give it to the guy that gives me 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 listings a year, right? I can't just give it to anybody, but now
you have to feed your people.
We have to. You have to. And
that's how it works.
And even still, if you were giving me X amount of listings a year, and I give a deal to somebody that I've never met, you'd be like, Pat, what's up?
Why am I giving you all this biz, bro? I thought we were boys.
I thought we were boys.
No,
what's the deal, right?
Dude, I thought we were boys.
I thought we were boys.
What are you talking about?
What are you doing? And these guys are legit, man. They're cash. They're men of integrity, men of their word, family men, great people to work with, people I love working with. I call them happy to call them friends. They're just like family. We talk all the time. We're sending photos of each other's families and, excited for each other's success. And, it doesn't get any better than that. But now we got the foreclosure work back. We'll be able to dole out some work to some other people. So rock and roll, man.
Yeah. How did you lose in the first place, if you don't mind me asking?
It was a Supreme Court case ruling. So there was a case out of either Minnesota or Michigan. I think it's Minnesota. It was a condo. So it was a woman who lost a condo, and she was back on condo fees and taxes. Okay. And so she lost her house, and then there's this, it's actually a right-wing nonprofit. It's called Pacific Legal. And they don't believe in the egregious taking of property from the government. So what happens, if you don't pay your taxes, the local government has the right to sell your home for those back taxes. And so there was a Supreme Court ruling that it was an egregious taking of the government, and New Jersey, being the state it was, which wasn't actually a terrible thing, New Jersey saw the writing on the wall, and they said, look, we need to interpret this new law. We need to come up with a new system, and we're not signing any more foreclosure paperwork until we do. So
wow, okay.
It was a solid year, man. Solid year of nothing getting pushed to the courts at all. But now we have a backlog, right, of a year plus all the new stuff. So now they're coming like rapid fire, boom, 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 boom. And
your business, theoretically, then your business could explode.
Could explode. And we need the right people. We need trustworthy people, because at the end of the day, these aren't like, these are my people, right? These are my people that I have to take care of, and I have to make sure we give them, we keep that level of customer service and support and results, at an all-time, we set the bar very, very high. So it's difficult to find someone who's willing to work for a piece of it, who's experienced, who's willing to go into areas that maybe aren't so, that aren't so super sexy or aren't super desirable. Maybe people think they're dangerous.
No, 100%. I mean, you're running around in Camden, I understand.
Right?
I run around a little bit in the hood myself, so I get it. And you stick out like a sore thumb. Absolutely. I'm rocking my tracksuit. I'm the only white guy for miles. Right. Same for you.
They see you. They see you coming, and luckily, I think a lot of them know me now, and they know I'm not a cop, and I'm not looking to shake anything up, and I'm here to do a service, which is good for everyone. And
exactly.
But we are set to explode. And we actually brought on a couple of new clients that are just as big as my biggest clients, and we have like 3 or 4 of them on the back burner right now. I mean, it could just be insane.
They're just looking to buy up everything?
They're looking to sell. So they're looking to sell. So same thing, right? So they have houses that they foreclosed on, and they need somebody boots on the ground. Because a lot of these guys, what they'll do, it's very similar to the wholesale operation, right? Like they want fast and easy, turn and burn. So they have their own list of, 100, 500, 1,000 buyers. They mail it out, and whoever's got the quickest deal, that makes sense to them, because their basis on these deals are low. They're in on a $300,000 house for $40,000. It's a $100,000 house for $10,000. And then these are very few and far between. Don't get me wrong. They're buying 100 liens for every one house they buy. So we're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars. Like even though I was with a couple of guys that were talking about dipping their toe into, I think it was Arkansas. He was like, how much did you put in? He said, 20. He's like, that 20, that's like dipping your toe in. 20 million, you know what I mean? So these guys got stupid money.
Yeah, so they're buying the tax
liens. Tax liens.
Okay, I don't know much about the tax liens. So is somebody who owes a tax lien, you just go to the city and say, let me buy their lien?
Yep. Yeah, so and they'll sell them. So every municipality has a tax sale, whether it be annually, biannually, whether it's in person, whether it's online. And it basically works like this, that this person owes X amount of taxes. You can buy this lien for $30,000, and the way you bid is by interest rate. So I want 18%. I'll do it for 17, 16, 15, 14, all the way down to 0, and then you can pay a premium on top of it. So, but the only way you lose your premium, I'm not a lawyer, and don't take all my. The only way you lose your premium is if you get the house. So this way they put all of this into their algorithms on how they bid, and it's a big money operation. But there's also not a lot of agents out here that can represent a hedge fund and also is willing to go kick squatters out of a house. So we are extremely versatile in that manner. And the more I get involved in the space, and the more heavy hitter, even with any business, right? There's the top 80% gets done by the top 20%, and I'm already working with the biggest guys, right? So it's not a hard sale. If I'm already, representing Walmart, it's not hard to get
Target.
Yeah. To come along and say, hey, let me give you a shot, or even like a Jim and Joe's, military supply, well, Walmart uses them. I mean,
he's got to be good. He's
got to know, and
it's the truth. If Walmart uses you, you're good.
You got to be good, and Walmart is even generous enough to be like, pass the man. He's the truth. He's the real deal. And they give me, they're always giving me really good, referrals. And so hopefully, God willing, we're pivoted to skyrocket 2025. If not, definitely 2026. Busy.
You'll be super busy. You better start interviewing and hiring.
Now.
If you want to work for Pat, he's easy to get a hold of.
Easy, very easy. And we need it, man. We need it. And it's nice to, I haven't really, Pauline cable hunting. Pauline, she's killing it, man.
Okay.
She did like $1 million. She did, out of the last 3 months, she did $1 million. 2 of the last 3 months. I think she made about,
younger girl?
Pauline.
Yeah, dude, everyone was Pauline. She's got a great reputation.
Wonderful reputation. She works really, really hard. She's up. She's in Camden in abandoned houses and stilettos, and she's doing the damn thing.
She used to live in this building, I'm pretty sure.
She did for sure. So I mean, she made at least $50,000 in the last couple months, and I haven't really had the opportunity to change someone else's life, which is my next really big step.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Be able to change someone else's life. Game-changing, life opportunity. I actually just called an agent local to here, and he was a young guy, and I gave him an amazing opportunity. He actually tried snaking me, going around my back and snaking me. Unbelievable. Honest to God, it just happened yesterday.
Really?
But, yeah.
Oh, that would make me hot. Huh?
I even went to my client that I was trying to help with a couple of situations, and I was like, look, why don't we give him a second chance? He's like, nah, that's a no-go. You know what I mean? We can't entrust somebody with millions and millions of dollars of properties that we don't trust across the board. So I mean, if you got hustle and you're looking to work and you're trustworthy, there's a spot. There's a spot with me for sure.
Heck yeah. It's tough to find that sometimes.
Dude, it's not easy. People don't want to work.
And also, it's not even that. People are so silly that they'll give up great long-term money for one quick little lick.
Oh,
right
absolutely.
In the beginning, I don't understand.
A shot at a lick, right?
Yeah,
a shot at a lick. A shot at a lick. Oh, wait, I know Nick's got a house. Let me call the owner direct. Let me snake Nick on his deal.
And then get the whole thing. Was like, bro, you were going to eat on so many deals. You were going to make so much more money than that one little bit, that one little spread.
They can't see it. And even like the companies that I work for, these agents can't help themselves but to take a bribe from a buyer, or I mean, people offer me money, bring me the deal, I'll give you money on the back end, I'll give you 20% on the back end, I'll give you a $10K bonus. I tell them, look, put the $10K in your offer, it'll greatly increase my chance of getting your offer accepted, right?
Yeah.
And there's no funny business, there's no nonsense. My job is to get my sellers as much money
they can get
as humanly possible, right? So no shenanigans. I don't do any shenanigans. We keep it moving, with integrity, and that's what's going to give people the confidence to possibly give you the opportunity to represent them on tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't get distracted by the little shiny couple thousands here and there, 10,000s. I don't care how much it is, because you want that I want that long-term money. I want that long-term income stream that I mean, these guys are like golden gooses. They're not going anywhere anytime soon, right? They are in the market, locked and loaded. And they have years of pipeline still behind us, right? So, because it takes years to foreclose. So we bid down to zero, we bid the premium. They have to service that property for 2 years, meaning they have to pay the taxes, they have to pay CCMUA, they have to pay water, they have to pay sewer, all your subsequents. And then you have the opportunity to foreclose. Right? So then you don't get that foreclosure money back.
No.
So
they better make the biggest bang that they can.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm picturing it now. Sure.
So when these guys make these licks, they're big, but they took losses.
Yeah.
Loss after loss after loss. So when I think about it, man, I'm making these guys fortunes, but I don't see all the money that they've lost, throughout all the deals that they went through to get to these companies.
Yeah, and how long their money was on the street before they were able to get it back.
A long time.
That's all. I'm comparing that to my business. Oh, my goodness. That is such a long time.
Hedge funds, right? Hedge funds. A lot of these guys have big hedge funds behind them, and you can't do it without it.
No way.
Call me all the time. Look, man, I'm looking to get in the tax lien space. I'm like, how many million do you have, right?
Yeah,
and what kind of lenders do you have? And
if that's who they're competing with, bro, what are you doing? You shouldn't do that.
And even so, if someone new comes on the market, they're going to punish them. They'll throw a couple million at you just for fun and games, just to bury you and make you go away, right? Because they don't want new people in their space. And however, they'll punish you.
Yeah, I'm sure. I had good luck cracking into that.
No,
that's a boys' club that is tough to get in.
So without a doubt, and even with the sheriff sales, right? Like, new guy comes into the sheriff sale, someone's gonna punish him, right? Like, someone's gonna punish him. They're gonna drive it up, and they're gonna dump it on him, and they're gonna laugh. But so you got to be disciplined. You got to know what you're doing. But this is not like a game where you can just jump into willy-nilly, I want extra houses, it
doesn't work like that. Because I hear some people go, Nicky, I want to get into these tax liens. I'm going to start buying tax liens. And I never really had an in-depth conversation with somebody about it before. So I just go, okay, that's cool. Good luck with it. Whatever. I don't know anything about that. Anyone that's ever said that to me, I'm thinking about it now. If they actually followed through on what they said, they definitely got cooked.
And dude, there's a ton of people out there that are selling tax lien programs, learn how to buy tax liens.
Yeah, I see it on YouTube.
It's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. Every single one of them is bullshit. It's a lie. It's like come to this seminar and then by the next seminar and by the next seminar. No, we have a pool of properties that are select only for you. And meanwhile, it's all land that's unbuildable or wetlands, EPA hazards. A gas station was there. It's filled with percethylene and gasoline.
It's worth nothing. It's worth nothing. We never pass an environmental ever.
Right. Meanwhile, you spend $20,000-$30,000 to get into this club that just sold you a couple $100,000 in dog shit property.
Yeah,
that's going to crumble you. So it's a tough business. I don't invest in tax liens, and there are little ways that you can get involved, and there's little ways that you can make money in it. But you got to really know what you're doing. You got to know. You got to have a system. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know how to do it. And for the most part, it's more for the interest. Like there's little ways to put in, you want to put in $50,000, $100,000, you could make nice interest, but you're not going to get any houses. Like the chances of getting a house are slim.
Yeah. Very slim. You're full gambling with your money.
Yeah.
You have so much money to spend, you gamble.
It's an algorithm, right? Like these guys aren't necessarily, they're gambling, but they know
they're not gambling.
They're not gambling.
No, they're not gambling.
The little guy's gambling in a big way. Yes. In a big way. But you would be protected for the most part. Like there's really no way. There's a ways to lose, but there are ways to do it to make decent return on your money consistently. But you could do that in the stock market as well. You're not going to get houses from it though, because everybody wants the house, right? Everybody wants the cheap house. Oh, I want that $300,000 house for $40,000. I want that $500,000 house for $80,000. And that's not an easy thing to do.
No, it doesn't happen every day.
No. And it takes years, man. It takes years. It takes years and years and years.
Man.
And it's a tough business. It's a tough business. I think I was telling you earlier. I go to these houses and I'm doing cash for keys with people who are losing their houses, and they're calling me a scumbag, and no one ever told them about it, and they never got notice. And how could this happen? And people are stealing their houses. And but the reality is this is what's going on for years. They got I had like a little mini panic attack myself. Like, oh my God, I'm stealing people's houses and I'm going to get sued, and this is not good. And so I got educated on the subject, and the reality is it's necessity for our society. Without it, we wouldn't have schools, we wouldn't have police, we wouldn't have firemen, we wouldn't have trash collection. And then at the end of the day, it's the government that sells the house, and someone else picks up that certification. So it's not like these scumbags running around stealing houses. That is not the case.
No, absolutely not. It's not the case whatsoever. And it's a service. It's not pretty, but it's a service to society that we need.
It's gritty. No doubt about it. But it would be anarchy without it. Complete anarchy.
Yeah, you're needed.
Necessity.
Do you remember the first house where you got the squatters out?
I was doing squatters before the tax lien stuff, but we got some real, squatter stories. They're usually not that bad, to be honest with you. I do pretty well. I have some videos of like, my wife will look at it like, what is wrong with you? I'm videoing this house, and there's literally like 9-10 guys. They all have ski masks on. There's like a machete over here. There's a dude smoking crack over here. And, I'll open up a door, and there's somebody's having sex over here. And, what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do?
He says.
What are you going to do? I've had women try to grab me by my ear and drag me out of it. Like, I got squatter rights, like you. But the good thing is we got the cops on our side.
Yeah.
And most of these squatters, you just go and say, look, man, this isn't your house. You don't have the right to be here. You got to go. And usually they'll go. And if they don't go, then maybe I'll try to juke them a couple bucks
or something. Yeah, it is what it is.
Worst case scenario, we got to call the cops, and it's we do an ejectment with the sheriffs, and then you just I show up with the sheriffs. They're usually gone by then anyways, and so it's a relatively easy. It's not as dangerous as I think people make it out to be, or maybe I'm just used to it by now. I'm just numb to it. But. It's not, usually squatters aren't that bad because they know they don't have the right to be there. You know what I mean? And people who squat in the house, right, they have drugs in there. They got weapons in there. They usually have warrants. They don't want drama. You know what I mean? They don't want drama. They don't want nonsense. And so, I'm a big, firm believer in the buddy system. You want to be protected. You want to arm yourself to some degree, but God willing, I've never had to, everything's been love.
And I'll tell you what, I have had a relatively similar experience because I get properties under contract, not all the time, but pretty often where it's a tenant that's a squatter and not paying tenant. And a lot of the time it's just, you know what? That tenant had a disagreement with the landlord.
Dude.
The landlord handled it poorly because it wasn't a big time landlord. And half the time it's like, you know what? I wouldn't be paying the bull rent anyway. This house is so bad.
Right.
I can't even believe that you were paying to live here in the first place. And they usually always work with me.
Right. And they don't want to live like that anyway, right? They get that stubborn mentality. I'm not leaving, and you did this, and they did it. And like you said, it's a big disagreement that was handled poorly. And I don't know if I could do it for myself. You know what I mean? If you were living in my house for free and you're yelling at me and you're treating me like this and disrespecting me and ruining my property, and I don't know if I'd be able to handle it like I could handle it when it's not my house. But
unbiased third party does make it a lot better.
It's big. Even when I buy a house, I use an agent, because I can't help but get emotionally involved. And it's not good to be emotionally involved when it comes to business, in my opinion.
No, I think these are assets. You can't be emotionally involved in this asset, but if it's yours, it makes it tough to be removed.
It's up. That 10 grand is your 10 grand, right? That 20 grand is your, so it's hard to say anything other than no, that's my money. That's my house. This is the way I want it. I'm not, you're not going to treat me like this and then expect me to give you 5 racks. What are you out of your mind?
Man.
But at the end of the day, it's about, it's about moving forward and maximizing profits and
eat that loss immediately.
Eat it immediately.
They already beat you. Let them have that.
Right. We're going to keep losing money. It's like throwing bad money after bad money. You come up with a good plan, and then these guys don't even have to do anything, right? So they hire me to do it. I go ahead, I take care of it. They have to pay the bill. But at the end of the day, they're going to net way more money doing nothing.
Exactly. Letting you just take care of it.
Just take care of it. Meanwhile, they're losing sleep. They can't, you know what I mean? Like they're so angry about this person, this guy, girl, whatever it may be. And they just can't get it out of their head. They're furious. It's ruining their relationship with their spouse, with their kids, with their job. It's affecting them mentally, physically, stressful, right? So, I still have clients that say, call me all the time, like, oh my God, Pat, that was life-saving. It was life-changing.
For real.
And I even have squatters that will call me, but that was life-changing for me. Now I got a new chapter. I moved on with my life, and I'm no longer living in a shithole with no utilities, and life is good.
And they don't have an eviction on their record, so they're, they're free.
All love.
Heck, they're
all
free.
All love. And I'll help them. They need a rental, they need whatever, right? Like we're here to help. There's only so much, that we can do within parameters, but, I don't think I've really ever had anyone, maybe a couple here and there. There's some people that
you can't help everyone.
You can't help everyone, and you can't get through to everyone. And usually there's a little bit of mental illness, whether it be a drug addiction or whatever. They're just not thinking right, and they dig themselves in the ground and they're not listening, but they lost not listening to me. I offered them 10 grand. They said no, and then they got kicked out with nothing. You know what I mean? So would you rather have had 10 grand to leave the property that you don't even have a right to be in the first place? Or would you like nothing and an eviction on your record? So unfortunately you can't bat 100, but, we do well.
Hey, I bet you do well. That's me, the king of Camden.
You make it happen, man.
If you have to go through the legal process, how long in New Jersey does it take to get them out?
So they will try to get into landlord-tenant court. So if you have a lease or if you have a legal right to be there, you have to go through landlord-tenant court, which is a nightmare. You're talking 3 to 9 months. If you are able to prove that they don't have a lease, or if they were the previous owner and they lost the house and they're still there, they don't have a right to be there. So that's the ejectment process.
Is that easier than eviction?
Like 21 days, front to back.
Oh, get out.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's lovely.
Oh, wow. Philly is not like that. That's really nice.
Yeah. So then from the time you file, rarely 30 days max.
Oh, wow.
And they're gone.
Good.
They're gone out of here. And they rarely even show up to court. And even when they do show up to court, the judges are not as lenient as they are nearly in landlord-tenant court, because at the end of the day, they don't have the right to be there, right? So they're technically trespassing. They don't have the right to be there. So they don't, even after we get to court, it's usually a couple days, 7 days. It's usually up to, the plaintiff. How long do you want to give him to leave? 7 days. Okay, 7 days it is. Boom. And we show up 7 days with the sheriffs, and that's it.
The sheriff will come out.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah.
In Philly, that doesn't happen. So Philly, they say, okay, everything's in theory. They go, oh, yeah, sure. He's got, in theory, 30 days, and the sheriff will come out. But the sheriff's so backed up, 6 months.
That's terrible. That's terrible. And not only that, dude, so with landlord-tenant court, they'll give you like an 8 to 2, right? Like an 8 to 2 appointment. With the ejectments, they're like, we'll be there at 10:45 on Monday. And they're there before I'm there. I roll up and
everything's taken care of.
Everything. We hit the ground running.
Change the locks.
Yeah, change the locks, going in, and you know, God willing, the locksmith is already there. I used to try to do it myself here and there, so I had one that I couldn't get into. And they will not let you climb in windows or anything. You can't go in before they have to clear the house. So, it would be my suggestion to bring a locksmith with you, because sometimes it's tough. You can't get in.
Yeah, bring a locksmith.
Bring a locksmith. A couple $100.
You wearing a velour suit. You can't get it dirty, brother. What are you talking about?
You know, changing locks and sweating and nonsense. You know, you need a locksmith. They change the locks. You're in, you're out. It's nice.
And then you're out of there like Vladimir.
Yeah, absolutely.
On to the next one.
On to the next. And, you know, they do all you want to secure the property.
Yeah.
You know, then we get it cleaned out, put it on the market, rinse and repeat.
And you're doing a lot of those.
We do. So we haven't done a lot of them. We just now started doing a lot of them. I'm not even getting a ton in the city. I'm getting a lot, and like we got a bunch in Browns Mills and Vineland, and we just got one in Bordentown and Burlington, and it's been I just got one in Greenwich, New Jersey, and I pulled up there and the guy was in the backyard. He's like, "Oh, I've been waiting for you, man. You know, like here's the keys." And all right, great. That was all. That was super convenient of you. Thank you so much, sir. So it's a little different in the suburbs, but it was nice. And sometimes they get a little kookier, you know, like they'll batten the hatches, right? And they won't answer the doors, and they can be a little bit more elusive. But it's a different process.
Well, you handle it.
We handle it.
You handle it.
We handle it for sure.
So, how big is your team?
So we have 7 agents at the moment.
Oh, and like, when I look on the MLS, it's always Pat Gorman as a listing agent. How do you decide whether, like, all right, you know what, we have this many deals coming in, I'm going to give Pauline this one, I'm going to give so and so this one. Like, how do you dictate?
So we're getting there. Like, so now it's at the point where I'm trying to just stick with my core clients, because I don't, for a multitude of reasons. I love working with them.
Yeah.
They're easy to work with, and they have a lot of volume, right? So there's a lot of money into that. Also, I don't have to hold their hand. They send me the paperwork. They don't want to hear from me. If they hear from me, it's a problem, right? If I'm calling them, it's a problem, right? All they want a couple calls from me. They want, how much money am I getting? And when am I getting my check? Anything other than that is a problem. So whereas like the people who, and since we have such a dominant market share in some areas, we get a lot of call-in listings, a ton, especially when it comes to multifamily. You know, like I get a ton of multifamily in Camden County, and because we do such a large portion of it, and it's not easy. Like, you know, multifamily is really like our bread and butter, like the tax liens and the foreclosures and the investments and the flips, like they pay the bills. Yeah. But the multifamilies and the big portfolios, that's where like the windfall comes in. And but they're not easy either. You know, when you have 20 sets of tenants and you have to do showings and you have to orchestrate all of that, and you have all these people that want to see it, and you have 30, 40 people that are, you know, beating down your door. And so we have a really nice process set in place on how to most efficiently sell multifamily properties. We do it really, really well. But to answer your question, I will give deals to agents that I'm done giving things to people who aren't showing me that they want it, right? Like, so show me that you want it. I'll give you an opportunity. And it's usually the one-offs, right? Like, I got a house over here, I got a house over there, and they may want their hand held. They may freak out over every dollar. They may freak out over the process. And I just don't have the time to babysit like that anymore. You're not babysit, but I don't have time. You know,
it's not worth it. It's not worth your time.
It's not the best use of my time at all. You know,
you're the leader of the pack. It doesn't really make sense. It would drain all your bandwidth.
It would.
Give that to one of your young bucks so you can focus on the main thing.
Right. And if they have a problem, I'm here. Right. They have a problem, I'll give you. You know, there's not a lot of these issues I haven't seen. And even, I mean, in the last 5 years, I've sold more houses then I would say 99% of agents sell in a career.
I'm sure.
And as you go through all these deals, you see so many different situations and so many circumstances, and it gives you, the answer on how to move forward, how to best move forward in your experience. And so we're getting tons of experience so quickly. And it's really a cool place it's fun. It's fun. I enjoy it. I wake up every day with a smile on my face. Start like, oh God, I got to go to work.
Yeah.
Like it's exciting. It's like real estate with a little action. You know what I mean? A little action.
Real estate with a little action.
A little action.
You love it. You love what you do.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I wouldn't do anything. I love it. And even so, there's only so many things that you could do where you can make, doctor money and
not have to be
and not have to cut people open. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So not be a doctor. So it's like, you can't beat it. And if you and the people are out there too, right? Like you deliver that service, and then they love you, because unfortunately the bar for realtors is very, very
low. It is low. It's super low.
Super low.
Off camera, we were talking about this. Like, you were like you're a unicorn agent. The average agent isn't doing your volume, number one, but number two, they have nowhere near your problem-solving skills and ability to deal with all these investors and deal with all these problems. Like, if you don't give them a very cookie-cutter, easy house, and they can just throw on TikTok that sells itself, they're making no money.
Right. And a lot of people, got licensed recently during a time where you threw a house on the MLS and that flew over contract, right? So over asking. And it was very easy, but that's not the norm. I was doing this before that, and I know that's not the deal. And even I don't know what the deal is with a lot of youngsters today, but they don't like hammering the phones. They don't want to get on the phone and call. And that's how you really, if you want to develop a relationship with someone that you're not with or around on a regular basis, phone calls are the way to make that happen. Getting comfortable on the phone, comfortable talking to them, and that's how you're really going to strengthen those relationships. And then you can start texting. It's easy. I understand text, why it's easy, and the benefits of texting, but it's not the best way to develop a relationship, in my opinion. You
got to pick up the phone and dial.
You got to pick up the phone and dial.
I appreciate that.
Got to dial.
You got a lot.
Dialing for dollars.
Yeah, there we go.
That's true.
A lot of the young bucks, they didn't want to call.
But like when I started, that's all. Like it sounds crazy, but I had a phone book. It was a phone book by street, and I would start at the end of the street, and I was just calling for listings. And it's not fun and it's not sexy, but there are huge agents at Keller Williams that are dialing for dollars every day. Dan Moss does double, triple what I do some years. He's on the phone every day dialing for dollars. Headset on, making calls. And there's multiple agents in our office that do that. And, Keller Williams is big on teaching people how to run a business. And, part of that is prospecting, man.
Yeah.
You got to prospect.
Got to prospect. Major.
Yeah.
Absolute major. What do you think the best way you think for an agent, young agent starting out, or even like a young wholesaler starting out, hit the phones?
Hit the phones. And networking. I think networking, I will admit it. In the beginning, I was like a me against them kind of thing. What can an agent help me out with? I'm an agent. We're doing the same thing. We're after the same meal. We can't help each other. And that's not true. And especially for someone like me who has a niche where, if you have a deal in Camden and you want help, call me up and I'll do it easy peasy, and you can just get paid sitting home, which is probably be better for them in the long run.
They're going to make more money that way anyway.
More money with less effort, and, just throw it my way and we'll make it happen. But it's you got to dial for dollars. You got to network with other agents. You're networking with vendors, networking. Whether it's going to do a first-time home buyer seminar or whatever it is, doing something is better than doing nothing. And then really, at the end of the day, all I do all day is talk about real estate. I talk about real estate with high-level investors. And like even yesterday, I was talking to a guy. He called to yell at me, basically. He was upset. He's upset. He's like, Pat, you're not the same anymore. We're not getting the same results. I'm unhappy. I want my money. What's going on? And I said, look, man, the problem, this is the issues. This is why we're not getting the results that you want to get. He's like, well, I need money. I said, well, what about these properties over here, right? So you have these two properties over here. I did really well with this property over there. I bet you I can get you about $950 for those two. So if you need cash, how about we get you $950 for this, and I'll get to you in about 30 days. So it went from, Pat, you're an asshole, you're not doing well, to I got a $950,000 listing in 5 minutes. So
but that takes years of learning how to deal with these people.
Of course, yeah. Well, but it was the best thing for him. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was the best thing for the guy, and I even dialed in the problems. Right? We dialed in the issues on why the deals that we were doing aren't working, and now they're slow. They're churning. We're getting out of the muck, and so this way those deals will work. I'll get these other deals moving, and life will be good.
Back to business.
Back to business, baby.
Yeah, buddy. I love it. Heck yeah. Pat, let me ask, is there anything that you want to leave these people with? Any advice, anything that's on your heart?
Real estate is a wonderful business that can change your life if you're willing to grind. And really, I was inspired by your story and the content you were putting out. Just real, authentic content about doing the right thing, grinding, making it happen, putting your family first. At the end of the day, you got to put you and your family first. But also it's about, operating at a high level. And if you want to work, man, and you want to get into real estate, the money can be stupid. And you can help yourself, you can help others, you can help the community, you can change other people's lives. There's a lot, money doesn't solve anything, but it sure does help.
It sure does help.
Sure does help.
I know that's right.
Absolutely.
And if you just do what you say you're going to do, the rest kind of takes care of itself.
And leverage. It took me way too long to start utilizing people and systems. I was flying by the seat of my pants, and good people and good systems are a game changer.
And lax. And it's tough to delegate, but if you can gather the strength to do it, go real far.
To the top. I doubled in a year. And, just with a little bit of leverage, man, it was insane. Insane.
I love it. Well, Pat, thank you so much, my guy.
I appreciate it
a ton. I'm jealous of your suit. All right, everybody, happy hunting.